And representatives. My name is Dr. Matthew Brown. I'm a transplant surgeon from Hartford Hospital down the street, and for what it's worth, a decorated veteran and 2 tours of duty. I am here to testify about Judge Leslie O'Lear and her management of my divorce. I had an end to my 18-year marriage and a divorce trial, which was resolved in January of 2011, and it was contentious, and it was heard in a 5-day trial by Judge Leslie O'Lear. And unfortunately, with this process, we had to go before other judges as well of the family law over on Washington Street, and so I got to experience a variety of judges. The trial that I went through, I think, to me, who was a novice to any of these kinds of proceedings, was kind of shocking in that the conduct of the courtroom was like a free-for-all. Attorneys yelling, speaking over each other, and a lack of control of the proceedings. And I think that kind of fuzzied some of the facts that came out during the trial. I didn't do well in the final decision. I have 2 children, 2 sons who I love very much, David, 19, and Peter, 14. One of the biggest problems was that despite the fact that my ex-wife had moved out of the family home and moved to Canada, initially at that time I had custody of my younger child. He had straight A's and was in West Hartford football and was in the community doing very well, but the decision was made to send him to Canada. And I know you don't have the details of the trial, but there was certainly no allegations or any proof of any neglect or abuse. I love my son. We have a safe household, and as I said, he had straight A's at Bristow Middle School. And the custody decision that Judge O'Lear came out with had some very unrealistic orders for joint custody and visitation. I'm a transplant surgeon. It came out in trial that I'm only off call 1 weekend a month. Despite that, the orders were that I got to share custody with Peter, who now is extradited to Canada, and I could see him every other weekend and parent him half the time, which was clearly unrealistic if I stay in my present profession, which I've worked very hard to get into. There was an illegal order that came as a decision of my trial that in unambiguous language that we were to be forced to file joint taxes despite me paying a year of court-ordered support. And this was a point on appeal. My ex-wife had not paid any taxes, and I had overpaid, so this would have been a very large financial swing. Judge O'Lear ordered or found that I couldn't refinance my home after the divorce, despite the fact that I had very little liquid assets, and the rates for refinancing the home would have dropped my rate from 7% to 3% and freed up funds to use towards child care and legal expenses. And that was punitive because I had filed an appeal. And I felt firsthand the backlash of filing the appeal. She showed a lack of understanding of the tax burden and the things basically that come out of your paycheck. So at the end of the day, the GAL fees were ordered to come out of my son's college account, $35,000. So this trial led to an appeal, and in the appeal I lost, but there was a reversal of this joint filing of taxes order, which they said was clearly illegal, and Judge O'Lear recounted from it, said that her decision was inartfully worded, and it wasn't a mistake, and it was very clear from the language that you shall file this way, that I couldn't believe that she could get out of it or correct that just by standing up and saying, oops, I didn't mean it. What she did was she wrote verbatim the suggested orders from the opposing counsel, and in those suggested orders was this tax thing, among other things that really went one-sided. I am concerned about retaliation for testifying, and I'm doing this with some trepidation because legal proceedings are still ongoing. I would just ask this body to try to imagine for a moment if my wife had been the major income earner and had decided to move to another country, would they send, pardon me, and I decided to move to another country, would they send the child to go live with me somewhere else? I think there's a huge gender bias, without question, at least in Judge O'Leary's courtroom. And that, I think, was just a fact. There was also an issue with earning income potential. My wife was a RN and could earn income here. But when she moved back to Canada, she had to allegedly take 3 years to recertify her to work as a nurse. And Judge O'Leary made me pay additional alimony to her until she could be employable again. Whereas Nancy's rationale for moving back to Canada was not for a better job or to be closer to ailing parents. It was just to be closer to the man she was involved with at the time. I don't mean to come here simply as a disgruntled person who did not do well in their family court decision. I'm trying to share with you some observations where I felt that the courtroom was out of control, and in that there was some prejudice when I tried to refinance my house. There was this tremendous gender bias. I'm still here. I can never see my sons. I try to get up there every couple of months and get them down. My ex-wife is reluctant to punitively to send them back down, and I'm frankly just kind of heartbroken and checking account broken by the whole process. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you for waiting today to testify, and we appreciate your testimony today. Are there questions? Representative Gonzalez?
Thank you. Thank you for coming. We did have a public hearing on June 9th. You didn't came to testify in that public hearing, right? Or
No, I'm sorry.
No?
I'm sorry. I had a work conflict, and I wasn't able to come. I wanted to come.
Okay. And you said that she didn't allow you to refinance your house?
That's correct. I have a house down in West Hartford, and as a part of after the income was shared with my ex-wife, I found myself to have some cash flow problems and some difficulty. My mortgage payment had become 2/3 of my net take-home income, and I could have reduced my mortgage payment by $1,500 simply by refinancing. But since the trial was still an appeal and the house was it was hung up as a joint asset, I asked if I could just simply refinance the home, and I was told no, you can't, because you don't own it outright at this time. So the only people that made money by that decision was the bank, who got a higher payments for their interest rate, and I felt it was punitive. It was, well, you're going to appeal this trial, here's what you get.
And your case is over now, or no?
I just lost the appeal, and I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. The other thing that came out of my trial was I had submitted 1 million financial affidavits, and although I'm a high income earner, we had very low liquid assets at the time that I separated. I really didn't have a lot of money in the bank, and Judge O'Leary ordered me to pay $30,000 and gave me 2 months to pay it. And I was like, well, where is this money going to come from? You know, I've shown you. You know there's no money in the bank. That's just, that's your problem.
And you have to pay $30,000 in 2 months?
I'm waiting for those. Now that the appeal has been lost, we're filing to the Supreme Court, which I understand that those notifications are very rare to have them accepted. So I think when I've exhausted all legal remedies, my counselor told me that I can anticipate, the orders and contempt findings coming hard and fast at me to pay her attorney fees, and there were a few other things, retroactive child support, which was bogus.
And what happened with the college fund?
The college fund, I had saved $75,000 for each of my sons, and I say I saved it because I was the only one employed. And, this wasn't by agreement, but the older son's account, half of that college account, per Judge O'Leary's decision, is going to go to the court-appointed guardian ad litem.
For the guardian ad litem.
Yeah, strictly for the guardian ad litem, it's over $30,000.
So that means that the college fund for your kid, so will end up in the pockets of the guardian ad litem.
That's right.
And the decision of the alimony, it was the first decision with a certain amount of money, and then she changed that?
Initially, since it took us a year to really get through trial with all the skirmishes leading up to the trial and the attempts at mediation, we worked hard to try to come to some agreement, but because Nancy wanted to take my boys to Canada, we really couldn't reach agreement, so it had to go to trial. But while we were having these attempts at mediation, there was, I don't know the legal term, but there was court-ordered support that I would pay to my ex-wife for a year. It was 6 figures. It was a lot of money. And once the trial decision was reached, and they reached some final alimony orders, they were slightly different, but part of the trial decision was to say, hey, last year while you were paying your ex-wife these 6 figures, you need to now pay her taxes on those as well, which is, my understanding is that's illegal for a family law, a judge to force someone to file taxes a certain way. That was the finding of the appellate court, was that no, that's not in the jurisdiction of the family judge to say you shall file jointly. So it was a clear error and probably grounds for appeal, and that was reversed. But I was shocked that Judge O'Leary had got out of it by just when she was questioned, she said, "Oh, I inartfully worded that about the taxes. That's really not what I meant." And I wish I had the clause to read to you because it couldn't have been more clear. It said, "You shall file joint taxes with your ex-wife," because she didn't pay her taxes.
I'm really sorry that you're going through that. And it seems like we have some judges, they are acting like collection agency. They are collecting the money for to pay the guardians ad items in the AMC. And I'm really sorry that you're going through that. And thank you. And I hope that I know, and I heard about retaliation. I heard that, and I went to the court. I was in the court a couple of weeks ago after the public hearing, and I was in a case that they were retaliating against the person that came here to testify. And I can tell you that I understand, and I know it's true, because I also have a second meeting, and we have people recording this speaker. So I'm sorry that that's going on, and I hope that she don't retaliate against you because you're here.
Yeah, I hope so too. Thank you, Representative Gonzalez.
Okay, thank you.
Are there other questions from members of the committee? Okay, well, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.